Ladies and gentlemen, should the Pies consider Jack Steele in this trade period? It's time to talk all things black and white. So Jack Steele's name has been brought up a number of times throughout the live streams, the comment sections, and SEN and Trade Radio have had their dip into this conversation. So I thought we extend it here and we can have a bit more of a conversation. But Jack Steele from the St Kilda Football Club, an inside mid, an absolute tackling machine, top 10 in the league once again last season. But outside of that, he's only an inside player and is losing his ability to even do that at his best. So in a time where, yes, we are looking for an inside player, but we're not looking for an inside player who doesn't have speed and have potentially good ball use. That's the issue we run into as a club. It's like we're looking at Jai Simpkin because he can play inside and he can play out and he can play multiple different roles, and he's still younger than Jack Steele, who will be 31 next year. So you factor that in. You look at, okay, well, what's the difference between Jack Steele and Clayton Oliver? I think people can make a case that Clayton Oliver's best footy could still be ahead of him, or at least he could play some really good footy. Jack Steele's fallen off a cliff. His role has changed. He's playing less and less midfield time as the seasons go by. He went from accumulating 100 coaches' votes in 2021 all the way down to just 3 this year. And that's just simply the passing of the baton. He's a great player, Jack Steele. But to me, why would you try and get someone like Jack Steele when you already have someone who can play his role almost as good as at this point in time in a Tom Mitchell? Like, if we're going to do that, we may as well just stick with Tom Mitchell. We may as well trade for nobody. If we're only going to bring in Jack Steele as the midfielder to strengthen our midfield stocks, then I don't know. Let's have a look at where Jack Steele is at contract-wise, because that's always an important conversation. He's an unrestricted free agent at the end of 2027, which means a trade would need to be facilitated. I'd imagine he's a 3rd or 4th rounder. You would definitely not pay anything more than that. But in saying that, I just don't think this is the right player that we should be targeting. And if we can't get Jai Simpkin, if we don't go for James Rowbottom, who is much younger at this point in time, he'll be 26 next year. You're probably getting him. I think that the conversation or the suggestions around Rowbottom's name is if he does come, maybe we can get him for a 2nd rounder. I think that might be a little bit rich. I think you might need to throw in some kind of 1st rounder, whether it be a future or a current. Collingwood are trying to get a current 1st round draft pick. And I do want to correct myself. I did say that to get access into this draft, you need to give away a future 1st and a future 2nd. And this happens every year when this is a cycle that only runs from, as far as this channel is concerned, it runs from September to November or September to October. You forget key details. And one of those key details is if you cannot trade a future 1st and a future 2nd, for example, if you don't get a future 2nd back. So when we talked about trying to get into this draft, I suggested, well, maybe we're going to give up a 1st and a 2nd, which would make things easy. But for that to happen, we'd need a 2nd coming back our way. So the question is there, how on earth are you going to convince someone to give up their current 1st round pick in this draft in exchange for something equal to, for example? I mean, the best we could do is ask for a late 1st rounder. And if we have a look at the draft order, just so we can talk about the players, the clubs, 0 hanger draft order is always a good one. These are the clubs we'd probably be looking to chat to. You're looking at Brisbane, Carlton, Essendon, Fremantle as those type of clubs that might be willing to give up a late 1st round pick in the mid-20s. And they, in doing that, they would hope to get a future 1st back from us. And maybe they even want our future 2nd if they gamble that we're going to fall off next year. So that's where that all gets tied in. And that's how you can get potentially a Jai Simpkin or a James Rowbottom. And we talked about it last night on the Pies presser. Are we looking desperate if we're going for Rowbottom and or Jai Simpkin when initially there were talks of Clayton Oliver for a really good price? Who else was in there? I mean, Bailey Humphrey and Zach Butters in some ways were discussed, but that sounds more like a next year thing. I'm just mindful in this trade period. Cool, bring in a midfielder. Don't sell the farm because I want to keep a hold of some draft value next year, so we can go for these big fish, for the Zach Butters of the world, the Bailey Humphreys, the Ben Kings. I'm just mindful of that, and we're not going to know how next year's going to work. We only found out the other day that 4 weeks ago, the AFL informed clubs that they can have access to 26 and 27, even if you haven't used two draft picks in the last 5 years or 4 years or whatever it is. So there is always flexibility. The rules are made to be bent with the AFL to allow clubs to secure high-profile players, young players, more often than not. So we don't know what next year brings, and we just have to trust list management. We have to trust Justin Lepich. We have to trust Shane O'Brien and everyone else that's a part of the process, Fly McRae, that they know they need to dip into the free agency next year. So whether they bring in Simpkin, whether they bring in Rowbottom, whether they bring in, we're not talking about Jack Steele because we much prefer that is not the case, then they know that bringing them in, they can still go for the big fish that we've spoken about over the last 12 months. I really think that's it. I think that's where we stand. I'm a no on Jack Steele. The age profile, yes, he's a good player, but he's just not what Collingwood need. We need some sort of speed and agility, and I think Rowbottom and Simpkin can at least bring that, along with ability to win clearances and the contest as well. I don't think Jack Steele's the guy. Let Jack Steele be a one-club player. He's done so much for the club. Let him reap the benefits of going through the hard times, and it's seemingly, we can all assume that St Kilda are going to see an improvement over the next couple of seasons. So take Jack Steele for the ride, St Kilda. And yeah, respectfully, it's a no from me. I'd like to know what you guys think in the comment section regarding the Jack Steele conversation. I think it's maybe, a bit of clutching at straws from mainstream media and even ourselves at times. So let me know. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, go Pies.